sitting in so much laundry right now. Hello everyone, and if you see the title of this, it kind of is of what it is. And down below in the description, you will find a link that says Peter Jackson, like officially claiming that there will not be Simarillion Movie. With the 3 movies, with the Lord of the Rings / the Hobbit trilogy, or the Middle Earth saga, as I like to call it, has now been officially complete. And people have gone for the last year or two. It's ever since they brought back the first Hobbit movie, a lot of people were just a lot of reporters were all like, "Hey, Peter Jackson, are you going to ever make the Hobbit a movie? I mean, the Simarillion movie, or a TV series, or is there going to be anything of a Simarillion outside of the book?" And it's official on this link that I'll have down below, and it's saying no. And my feelings on this is kind of split. On one side, I feel like I understand. He's accomplished so much. He has brought 2 enormously popular books from the last 100 years of the Lord of the Rings book, or movie, 3 movies into a trilogy, and then a Hobbit, a similar book that's probably the size of one of these books by themselves, into one movie. And with Peter Jackson, finally all together, I feel of him saying no, that's it. On some level, I do agree, because you've accomplished so much. The Lord of the Rings movies were unbelievable. I was too young to understand at the time, because I would have been 7, 8, and 9 years old when the Lord of the Rings movies came out. That kind of shows to you guys. You guys can kind of figure out the math of how old I would have been, of 7, 8, and 9 when the Lord of the Rings movies came out. From that you can basically tell what year I was born in. But on some level, I do see Peter Jackson saying, "You know what? I've accomplished so much. The Lord of the Rings movies are undeniable. They're untouchable. The books, because these 3 books went from being the 3 novels that no one could make into a trilogy. Everyone said they couldn't be made into film until they were made in 2001, 2002, 2003, and they instantly became the quintessential fantasy movies of all time, and they are definitely, for a lot of people, including myself, some of the most definitive movies you have to see before you die. And The Hobbit is pretty much the same thing on the line of the road. Well, I have 3 versions of The Hobbit. This is just a really well-made copy of a crappy copy that's kind of beat up, and a very, very old copy that's from the 70s. And going back to my first thought on this, is that I do feel like Peter Jackson is on some side making a statement you know what, I've touched so much upon this, I am the right person to do this, I have succeeded in so much of this. Is he's finally saying, I'm done. And on some level, I really do agree with him, and I do really respect his move on this, and saying I've already done so much with the Middle Earth movies. Yes, I've done The Frighteners and Brain Dead, and he's worked on Tintin and District 9 and so many other good films, but it's the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit movies are pretty much his films, and saying that he's done with these movies, and these movies are done until they're on, probably sadly within the next 20 or 30 years, will probably be rebooted. And if anyone does that, I will fucking get it. But seriously, there's no doubt that's going to get rebooted in the next 30-something years. But aside from that, I do really understand Peter Jackson saying that, you know what, I've covered these so well on the screen, if you like the films or not, I've done them justice, I've done them purpose, and he's like, you know what, I've tried to represent J.R.R. Tolkien's work his absolute best he could, and he's like, you know what, I've done it, all of I could have ever done, I'm done, my time for these movies are done. And on some level, I do understand that, and I do understand his motive, and I do really respect that. But then on the other side of this, I'm kind of like, No. We want more. Well, I want more. I'm not so sure if I can speak for everyone on this, but because a lot of people on the internet are now saying, you know what, we've had enough of the Middle Earth movies. We've had enough. I've heard so many people say we've had enough of this world. Good thing it's over. I do not care. But here's the thing. I really love these things. They have changed my life. The novels, the films, Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit are all wonderful. And I just feel like, and it seems like in a certain way, it's like, you know, the comparison of both The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. Like, The Hobbit is a bit of an easy read, to be honest. Lord of the Rings is a bit more complex, and the Simarillion is a whole different story. Is that it's kind of like really perplexing to see how much on a certain intellectual level of how well made it could be. And I feel like no, it could be made in a certain way. Peter Jackson, you shouldn't dismiss yourself for making this or anything like that. But it's like, I understand, you know, if he says, I cannot do this is the enough I could do of these movies, and I do really understand that, but my other opinion on this is that if they can make a TV series on both Game of Thrones and the Bible, which are both very big and very, very in-depth of their own history, why couldn't you do the Simarillion? Why can't anyone do it? Like, I would love to get like a bunch of people together for like the dream team to work on the Simarillion. Oh my goodness, like, if you just read this book, it's like, alright, let's just go to page 188. Chapter 20, on the fifth battle, Nethereth, and it says, it is said that Baron and the Thane returned to the northern islands of Middle-earth, and dwelt together for a long time as living man and woman, and they took up again from the mortal form and Doreth. It's like, this stuff practically writes itself on paper so it can be made into a film. And I believe if they could, like I said before, if they could do that on both Game of Thrones and the Bible, then why can't you do the Simarillion? They are just as in-depth, they are just as complex, and they're just as rich in history. And I'm just saying is that I get Peter Jackson, you say your time with this is now over. There's none of these that I want to make again. It's like, you know, I've really done the best I could with these. I'm done. I understand that and I do respect that. But I feel like, you know, like, how wonderful would it be if there was a Simarillion in the movie? Or TV series or mini series. Just how wonderful would it be? So for me, it's like, am I happy or not that there's gonna be no Simarillion at all? Honestly, I feel a bit of both. Like, on certain aspects, I do feel like, yes, that's a smart idea because he's done all it's become, you know, like, in my perspective for him, it's kind of like, you know, he's done all that he can do with them. He's done with them for a good majority of his life, more than 17 years, from 1996 or 95 to 2003 of Lord of the Rings, and then from 2010 or 9 all the way to 2014, he has worked on The Hobbit. And for me, I feel like, you know, he's just succeeded so much with those, is that he can hang up his cape for the Tolkien flag that he's made. You know, like Rankin Bass has done this in the 70s, and, you know, in my opinion, that's not so great. Then there's, like, you know, Rankin Bass hung it up, and then I forgot someone else did the Return of the King. Of that is like that they pretty much passed on the torch, and Peter Jackson picked that torch up of Tolkien's adaptation of Tolkien's books. He showed the screen of the Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, and he's done it. And hopefully, in that certain sense, in my view, is like there may be a bit of faith, and maybe we shouldn't be so hasty. You'll understand the term history on hobbits. But the thing is that I wouldn't be so hasty, or I wouldn't be too quick to judge Peter Jackson leaving on these movies, because there's always a sense that someone could top this in the future. I don't think, okay, someone could definitely do it better than American Bass, but I don't believe anyone could do it more faithful or more respectable or honorable loyalty and care for these books. As you can tell from these, I'm a huge Tolkien fan. That, Peter Jackson has done, he's just done all that he can do, and I just hope that Peter Jackson, if you really do feel like your time of making these movies are done, then I am full support of you doing other things. However, I want you to realize how important and how influential your taste and love and admiration and loyalty and respect to Tolkien. All Tolkien. I'll just use one good Hobbit. I just want to say this. If Peter Jackson ever sees this, even though I have a feeling he never will, who am I kidding? He will never see this. But I'm just saying to anyone who does see this is that, or even just a message to Peter Tolkien, to Peter, oh my god, I'm fucking this up, to Peter Jackson, is that either if you want to leave these films, Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit to rest, that of you basically saying, I've done all I could with these. I'm passing on to generations who can fill them up, and it's like, I don't know. I am really sad that he's not making it anymore. But at least I can respect him, and I can honor him by saying that the stuff he has made has forever, as for me at least, forever changed me. Because the books and the movies of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, for me at least, are extremely influential and extremely amazing things that I will never forget. For me at least, from my chorus and deepest part from the bottom of my heart, I sincerely say thank you, Peter Jackson, for trying to represent a dead man's work. And you pay for it with respect, loyalty, and honor that you bring to the books. And in my view, you're the only director who can make this works of fantasy ever come true in a good way. And that is, for me, is why I will say the Lord of the Rings, the Middle-earth saga, is my all-time favorite in both film and literature. Thank you, Peter Jackson and J.R.R. Tolkien. I will never forget you until the day I die. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the future. I'm out.